What's up guys, this is AppleTech752 and in this full tutorial I'm going to show you everything you need to know about the MFC dongle, a USB device that allows you to automatically brute force the 4-digit passcode on your iOS 7 or your iOS 8 device. This video will cover where to purchase the MFC dongle, how to install and set up the MFC dongle software, and most importantly, how to use the MFC dongle to brute force your iOS 7 or your iOS 8 4-digit passcode. Before we get started, I want to give a huge shout out to the people that made this video possible. The current version of the MFC dongle software has a massive bug in it, and these people were nice enough to send me all their older versions of the software, and luckily I found one version that works perfectly. So thank you so much to these 15 people who are up on the screen right now. You made this video possible. With that being said, let's jump straight in and get started. First things first, if you want to get your hands on the MFC dongle, here's exactly how you can do that. You can go to this website, cellcorner.com, and search for the MFC dongle cable set for Apple iPhone. And you should find this product right here. It is about $250, and all you have to do to purchase it is click on add to cart, and then once it's in your cart it will appear on the right over here. You can click on view cart and now scroll down and click on checkout, and from here go ahead and put in all your information, shipping, billing address, all that stuff, and then at the very end you will find several options for checkout. I recommend PayPal because it worked for me and it allowed me to get this MFC dongle in about 2 weeks. The software for the MFC dongle can be found on my website at appletech752.com/downloads.html, or you can just click on the downloads page and then scroll down pretty far down towards the bottom until you find the MFC dongle software 2.1. It is very important that you use version 2.1 because, as I said earlier, the latest version has a bug in it and you cannot read the codes from your dongle. So download this version simply by clicking the download button right here, and it should download an installer right over here. We can go ahead and make our web browser a little bit smaller, and then let's drag it out onto our desktop, just like that. And now we can go ahead and minimize our web browser, and let's open up this installer just by double clicking and click on more info and run anyways. You will probably get a pop-up that looks something like this. So click on yes, I agree to the conditions, and now click on install. And this should only take a few moments, but there are a few other important steps that I'm going to show you guys for installing the software. As you can see, we just got a device driver installation wizard. So on this page, you want to click next and then select this one right here and click on install or finish. And that should update the progress bar in the MFC dongle main installer. Next, you'll get another installer right behind this one. It says Visual C++. So you want to click on install for that one. However, I already have it installed. So I'm just going to click close. And as you'll notice, the MFC dongle is continuing to install the software. So we can install this one as well. And right here it says MFC dongle has been successfully installed. So all we have to do is click on finish. And we have a nice MFC dongle shortcut right here on our desktop. So all we have to do is double click this shortcut and it's going to open up the MFC dongle software. Perfect. As you can see, we are inside of the main panel of the MFC software, and this is exactly what it's supposed to look like. You have a read button down here, which I'm going to explain later, and then you have all your options up here for configuring the MFC dongle itself. Awesome. At this point, I've shown you guys how to purchase the MFC dongle. I've shown you how to install and set up the software. And so for the third part of this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to use the MFC dongle to brute force the 4-digit PIN code on your iOS 7 or your iOS 8 device. For that process, I'm going to switch over to macOS, and I'll explain why in just a second. All right, I'm back on macOS, and I've got my passcode lock device connected right now. I'm using an iPhone 5C with a 4-digit PIN code. And the most important thing to do first is to identify what iOS version your device is running. And the easiest way to do that is to open up CheckRain. CheckRain will tell you exactly what version your device is on. If it says something like could not connect to Lockdown D or just could not connect, that most likely means your device is on iOS 7, but in our case, we have iOS 8.4. And if you have iOS 8, then stay with me because I'm going to show you everything you need to do to prepare your device for the MFC dongle. But if you have iOS 7, then none of these steps I'm about to show you will apply. So you can go ahead and skip to the timestamp listed right now. And from there, you'll be able to directly use the MFC dongle without any of these setup steps. But since we're on iOS 8, we're going to continue with the setup. Let's go ahead and quit CheckRain. And this process is going to require 3 programs. We need Sliver, CyberDuck, and plist Edit Pro. You can download Sliver from my website at appletech752.com. Just click on the downloads page and download the latest version all the way over to the right. Next, we're going to download CyberDuck from cyberduck.io. Just click this download button right here. And last, we're going to download plist Edit Pro from fatcatsoftware.com/plist Edit Pro. Just click on the free download button right here. And once you have those 3 programs, make sure to install them on your computer and connect your passcode lock device. As you can see, I have mine connected right here. And once you're all done with that, we're gonna go over to our Launchpad and scroll over until we find Sliver and go ahead and open it up. You might need to go into System Preferences and click Allow if you get a security warning. But from here, we're gonna go into RAM Disk iCloud Bypass, Bypass A6 iDevices, and iPhone 5C. Now we need to enter DFU mode. So to do that, hold the Home and Power buttons at the exact same time, and then wait for the screen to turn black. As soon as it does, wait 2 seconds, then release the power button and continue holding the home button. And you will most likely get an iTunes or a Finder pop-up. Once you do, go ahead and click OK and quit iTunes or Finder. Next, we're gonna click on Enter PON DFU. And as you can see, the exploit worked on the first try. That is actually very lucky. It will probably not work on the first try for you. And if it does not work, then you just need to hold the home and the power buttons until you see that Apple logo and then go back into DFU mode and try the exploit again. Sliver will give you a nice try again button so that you never have to worry about failing. You're always going to be able to try again. So now we can click OK, and let's load either the standard or the alternate RAM disk. If you're on Catalina or Big Sur, then I recommend the alternate. And if you're on High Sierra or Mojave, then I recommend the standard. I am on macOS High Sierra, so I'm going to load the standard RAM disk. Once you get an iTunes pop-up like this, click Cancel and quit iTunes. And as you guys can see, the standard RAM disk was already sent. So we can click OK and relay device info and click Yes. And at this point, do not delete the setup. All we have to do is minimize Sliver. And at this point, let's go over to the Spotlight search and search for CyberDuck. And inside of CyberDuck, click on Allow if prompted. But most likely you guys will not see this page. So I'm going to show you how to get here. Basically, I'm going to disconnect and open a connection. And for here, you want to select SFTP SSH file transfer protocol. And the server is localhost. The username is root. The password is Alpine. And the port is 2222. Now all you have to do is click on connect. And for change fingerprint, click on allow. And now we're going to navigate back to the / directory. And inside of here, you'll probably find 2 folders, MNT1 and MNT2. But as you notice, they're both empty. To fix this, we're just going to open up a terminal window. And then inside of terminal, we're going to type a few simple and easy commands. I'll have them up on the screen right now. The first one is SSH root at localhost -P2222. And now click enter. And you might get something like this that says remote host identification has changed. If you do, then go ahead and copy this path for the offending RSA key, which is right down here. just copy the part that says user/your/user/.ssh. So we're going to go up here to edit, copy. And now let's go back to the desktop and we can go to Finder, go to folder. And then inside of the folder, just paste in this path that we just copied. So edit, paste, and now click on go. And inside of here, you'll likely find a file called known hosts. Go ahead and 2-finger click this and select move to trash. Perfect. Now we can close this window and go back in here and retype the same command, ssh root at localhost -p2222. Now click enter and type in yes, Y-E-S, and then the password is Alpine. Perfect. Now that we are inside of the terminal, all we have to do is type in mount.sh. And from here, as you guys can see, we got a few errors. It said could not create property, but that is totally fine. As long as you get no permission denied or anything like that, then you're all set. So we can go ahead and close this terminal window and go back into CyberDuck. And now when we click on refresh, we can go ahead and double click on MNT2 and boom, just like this, we are inside of MNT2. Next, we're gonna click on mobile. So just double click it. And inside of mobile, click on library. And inside of library, you wanna double click on preferences. And then in here, as you'll notice, there are a ton of files. So to make it easy for ourselves, we're just gonna search for the file we need. It is Springboard, just like this. And now we wanna find this one, com.apple.springboard.plist. And from here, let's go ahead and drag it out to the desktop. Perfect, now we can close this window and exit out of this. Next, we need to go back and find another file. So let's go back to mnt2/mobile/library. And now we want to click on Springboard. And inside of Springboard, you'll probably find a file called lockoutstatejournal.plist. That's the one you need. So go ahead and drag that one out to the desktop too. And perfect, now we have our 2 files we need to work with. So we're going to begin by opening com.apple.springboard.plist with plist edit pro 1.8.4 or whatever the current version is that you have. And now once you get a plist that looks like this, we're going to go ahead and do a few modifications. So the first modification is to delete this value that says SB device lock block. Basically, lock block is kind of what makes your device go into the disabled state. So by removing this, we're going to prevent our device from ever being disabled. So we can 2-finger click this and say delete. The next modification we need to do is click on SB device lock failed attempts and change this value to -9999. Now click enter. And at this point, as long as there are no other lock block values or SB device lock or anything like that, then you're okay. This one right here is actually important. It tells us that our device is not blocked, but if you have any other ones besides these 2, then you're gonna wanna go ahead and delete them. But since we don't, we're gonna click on File, Save. And at this point, we can simply press the red X to close this plist. And now we're gonna 2-finger click on the lockoutstatejournal.plist and say open with plist edit pro, the same way as the first one. And in here, there are a few more modifications we need to do. Let's go ahead and delete this SB device lock block state generation, just 2-finger click and delete. And now change this one to -9999. And now we can click enter and go up here and click on File, Save, and then go ahead and close this window right here. And now to start, we're gonna go ahead and drag the lockout state journal back into this menu right here and click on continue. And at this point, we can close the window, skip this version or remind me later. And now we're gonna go back to M&T Mobile Library. And in here, let's go back to Preferences. It should be down here. And now we can search for Springboard again. And from here, all we have to do is drag and drop com.apple.springboard.plist right into this window. And now click on Continue to overwrite. And perfect, the file modifications are complete, so we can now go ahead and disconnect from CyberDuck. Let's close this window right here and close this window. Now we're gonna go ahead and reboot the device by holding the power and the home button at the exact same time. Wait for that black screen, and then as soon as the screen turns black, continue holding the buttons and wait for the Apple logo. As soon as you see the Apple logo, we can go ahead and disconnect our device from our Mac. And at this point, I'm gonna transition into using the MFC dongle to brute force the passcode. All right, the device just booted up, and the first thing I'm gonna show you guys is that we have unlimited passcode attempts. That is the key to this method. We need to be able to punch away at unlimited codes so that the MFC dongle is not going to run into any issues while trying to brute force the passcode. So let's go ahead and slide over and just start typing in random codes. And as you guys can see, after about 5 or 6 attempts, it's going to lag a little bit, but it's still going to validate that attempt. Now let's try again. And as you can see, it still validates it. If we try again, there's going to be a little bit more lag, and then it's still going to validate the attempt. And just try a few times like this just to make sure that all the passcodes are going to be validated and you're never going to get disabled. Perfect. Once we know that we have unlimited passcode attempts, we can go ahead and set up the EFC dongle. Your MFC dongle will probably come in a package that looks something like this. You have your special cable and other components inside this box. We're gonna take a look at this cable. This thing right here is the special attachment for the dongle. As you can see, it's a 3-sided cable. You have the side that connects to the iPhone 4 and the 4S. You have your standard lightning connector, and then you have another connector for Android phones. And this is the part that connects to your PC. And this part right here is what connects to the wall to charge the phone if necessary. We also have some components in this box. This is the dongle itself. So let me show you guys right here. We have the MFC dongle, which looks like this. It's connected to a USB stick, and it has several different places for wires to plug in on this board. And then in here is the light sensor. This is what's gonna detect when your device actually gets the correct code and boots up to the springboard, and it's gonna tell the MFC dongle basically to stop trying codes like, okay, my device has been unlocked, we're good, we don't need to keep trying. And now this is the connector that connects the light sensor to the MFC dongle, and I'm gonna show you guys how to hook this part up. Lastly, we have a twist tie and then this red wire in here. This is basically for putting your dongle into boot mode, but I do not recommend you guys do that. So we're just gonna leave this guy alone and close up the box and set this aside. If we take a closer look at this white cable right here, you'll notice that each of the wires are labeled with separate identifiers. Looking super closely up here, as you can see, this middle one has like plus, 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 plus on it. And then this one has really, really long stripes. And this one sort of has quicker, like dashed stripes. The ones with the plus, 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 plus on it, that one is the positive 5 volts. And the one with the really, really long stripes, that's the ground. And then this one right here is the data cable that's gonna connect to a different place. So I'm gonna show you guys exactly where to hook these up right now. So let me just show you again. We have the middle one right here with the positives. So I'm gonna find that one. It is right here. And then I'm gonna take this wire and take the board. If you look really close, as you guys can see, there is a 5 volt pin right here. It says 5V on it. So we're gonna connect the positive wire to the 5 volt pin, just like that. And now we need to connect this really long striped wire, the ground wire, to the negative pin that says ground on it, right here. And after that, we need to connect this third wire that has the stripes on it to the pin that is all the way over to the left here. It is pin 2, this one right here. So go ahead and connect it just like that. And then once you have those 3 wires connected, let me review one more time. We have the positive wire going into the 5 volts, the big long striped wire going into the ground, and then the short dashed wire going into pin 2. Then we can go ahead and connect the light sensor to this other side right here. Go ahead and take this and just plug it in. Make sure that the side where the 2 grooves are, like that, matches this side where there's a clear indentation for these 2 grooves. So you basically want to put it in so that it snaps. Just like that, you sort of heard a small snap. And at this point, we are ready to connect the EFC dongle to this part. We're going to do that by connecting the dongle into this adapter right here. So just go ahead and get it the correct orientation and plug it in. And this is a very firm connection, so you don't want to push too hard. Just get it in there so it's sort of like this. You'll probably have a few millimeters sticking out. That's fine. And now we're going to go ahead and connect the lightning side to the phone. But before we do that, we have to connect the light sensor to the display. And the easiest way to do that is to take a piece of Scotch tape, just rip off like a small little piece, and then go ahead and put this thing right on the center of the display, and then go ahead and tape right over the top, and then secure the tape down on either side just by pressing lightly with your finger. And at this point, once the light sensor is attached, we can go ahead and connect this cable to the phone. And as soon as we do this, it's going to start brute forcing codes. Let's do it. As you guys can see, the dongle turned on and there is now a green light. And if we go over to the passcode page, as you guys can see, it is actually punching in codes. And every other code, it's going to show like it's punching in a code like that, and it's going to vibrate. And then on the other code, it's not going to. So like this code is just going to vibrate. You're not going to see that back and forth motion. But then on this next code, you're going to see the back and forth. And that's totally normal. That means it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. But to prevent any damage or to prevent the battery from dying, we're going to want to hook this up to a power brick as well. So I recommend you take a brick like this and then just connect it to that, and then plug this guy into a wall outlet. I don't actually have a wall outlet near me, so I'm going to use this extension cord right here. It's a pretty common 3-prong household one. And then just take this and plug it into here. And as you guys can see, the phone is now charging and it is punching away at unlimited codes. So I did the math here, and worst case scenario, it'll take 13 hours to brute force the code. Best case scenario, it'll probably take 1 to 2 hours, and your average case will be about 6 to 7 hours. It all depends on whether the code is at 0000 or 9999. This computer basically starts at the zeros and ends at the 9s. So depending on what range that code is in, it's going to take that amount of time. So I'd highly recommend you guys just leave this device, let it do its thing, and then as soon as it boots to the springboard, you want to disconnect the EFC dongle, just like disconnect this part out of the phone, and then I'm going to show you guys exactly what to do after that. At this point, I'm going to go into time-lapse mode and show you guys the entire process up until the device actually gets the correct code. As you guys can see, the device is now on the home screen. That did not take long. It was only about 1 hour and 15 minutes, and this device brute forced the code, and it is now on the home screen. And the very first thing you want to do is go ahead and change this auto lock to never, because you do not want this device to lock on you. So I'm going to take off the lock sensor. So we're going to go into the settings app and go to general and auto lock right here, and make sure it is on the maximum setting. In our case, there is no never option, but you just don't want this device to lock. And at this point, we can go ahead and disconnect the dongle. And this thing is what we want to plug into our computer. So I'm going to show you how to plug this into your PC. So here's how I recommend plugging your dongle back into your PC. Just let the light sensor dangle sort of like this, and then take the USB stick itself and plug it face down into the port with your PC like hanging off an edge. As you can see, I have mine hanging off the table. You basically don't want to damage these pins or damage the board. This thing in itself is worth about 200 bucks, so you really don't want to damage it. Just go ahead and plug it in lightly and just stick it in there until it clicks. And as you can see, we heard a noise from our PC, so that means we're good to go. And once you have your dongle connected to your PC, the next thing you want to do is open up the MFC dongle software. And inside of here, you want to click the read button. And assuming you have version 2.1, which is the right version to use, then when you click the read button, it should be super simple. As you guys can see, latest guess at index 39 equals 0640. And that is not the correct code, and I'm going to explain why. This program only counts in multiples of 5. For some random reason, that's just what it does. So if your code is a 1, 2, 3, 4 or a 6, 7, 8, 9, it's not going to show that code. It's only going to show zeros and 5s. So that's why if your light sensor stops at the perfect moment and stops punching in codes when it's supposed to, the code is never going to be below this value, but it could be above it. So what I recommend doing is trying 0640 first. If that doesn't work, try 0641, 0642, 0643, and 0644. And one of those codes should give it to you perfectly. But if that doesn't work, then there's a chance that your light sensor was broken like mine is right now. I unfortunately made the mistake of trying to flash some of these other options. Do not ever flash these options, because if you flash anything besides the default one, it's going to break your light sensor. And I learned that the hard way. My light sensor is dead, it's broken, and it does not work. So when I got to the home screen, my EFC dongle just kept punching away code after code after code, even though my device was already on the home screen with all the icons on it. So once again, do not ever flash anything. It will break your light sensor. If that happened to you too, if you made the same mistake of trying to screw around and flash some new options and now your light sensor doesn't work, then what you want to do is take this guess right here, 0640, go ahead and Control C to copy it and paste it in as the new start value. So Control V to paste, and then you want to check the box that says descending order. And now go ahead and click on write. And what this is going to do is apply the new start value of 0640. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and unplug the dongle from the PC and plug it back into the phone. And it's basically going to go down the line from 0640. So if you let the device boot up to the home screen and you missed out and it was still punching in codes, it's now going to go back through until it gets the correct code. So we're basically going to do that right now. Let me go ahead and disconnect this from the PC. And now I'm going to plug it back into the phone. So this process is only if your light sensor is broken. If you have a perfectly good working light sensor, then the very second you get the correct code, it's just going to stop your EFC dongle and you can plug it right into the computer and read the correct code, of course, plus or minus 4 codes, as I mentioned earlier. But in our case, the light sensor is actually broken, so it didn't stop in time. When it got the correct code, this thing still kept punching in code after code after code, and that means that the code we read on the computer is not the correct one. So we started at that code on the computer, and now we're gonna go ahead and put the dongle back on the device and continue from that value. And as long as you didn't wait too long and it's only been like 4 or 5 codes, then it should work perfectly. But if you waited too long, you may have to actually go back and add -9999 attempts again. But hopefully we don't have to go there. So let's see if the dongle is going to get the correct code for us just by, trying counting down from that value. So we're just going to stay with it this whole time. Didn't get it the first try. And it didn't get it the second try either. This could end up not being good if it doesn't get it in the next 3 tries. So that's 3 tries. Let's see what it does here. 4 tries, and 5 tries. All right, if it doesn't get in on this one, then we're gonna have to add attempts. As you can see, iPhone is disabled, so we're gonna disconnect the dongle, and I'm gonna actually go back on Mac and add -9999 attempts to this phone. If we don't do that, then it's not gonna work properly for counting down and getting the correct code. So I'll be back after I've set the values to -9999 like I did in the beginning. All right, I just did the same process we did earlier in CyberDuck, where I dragged out those 2 P lists and changed the values back to -9999 and deleted all the blocked values. And now we're back on the passcode screen. So I'm just gonna reconnect the EFC dongle, and we're just gonna let the thing continue punching away at codes, counting down from the last value it found. And it should actually find the code here in just a few seconds. So I'll probably speed this part up and show you guys when it boots to the home screen. And just like that, as you guys can see, it got the correct code. So I'm gonna immediately disconnect it. And at this point, we'll be able to plug it back into the computer and have a better sense of where the correct code is at. So at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect this and plug it back into my PC, and I'll be back. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and plug it in right now. Perfect, the MFC dongle is connected. So at this point, all we have to do is click on read. And as you can see, the last guess index was at 0630. And my logic here is that the correct code is actually a few digits below 0630. Because this program only counts in multiples of 5, it's not gonna go down to 0629 or 28. It's gonna stick to 0630 until it gets down to 0625. And as you saw, the MFC dongle continued to flash for a couple times even after it went to the home screen. So we're gonna start with 0629 and then 0628. Let's see if that does it. I've got the phone right here. I just rebooted it, and we're gonna try 0629 to start. So 0629, and that didn't work. So let's try 0628, 0628. And boom, as you guys can see, 0628 is the correct code. So I'm gonna now go into settings, and we're gonna go to passcode. Let me try to fix this quality here. Hold on a second. There we go, that's a lot better. So now we're gonna go into passcode and 0628, and boom, there we go. Now we have the passcode inside of here, and now let's go ahead and change the passcode to something we know. So I'm gonna enter 0628, and we're gonna enter our new passcode as 1234, and next, and then 1234. Done. Perfect. Now we have a passcode that we can actually use on this device. So if I go back and lock it, and now go into the device, it's gonna ask for a passcode, so I'll type in 1234, and boom. That is how you brute force the passcode on a locked iPhone 5C with iOS 8 or iOS 7 and gain full access using the amazing EFC dongle. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's certainly a super fun process, and I really enjoyed making this and showing you guys how to use it. If you like content like this and want more tutorials, then smash that like button, subscribe to Apple Tech 752, and if you get stuck along the way or need some help, you can always make a community post on reddit.com/r/setupapp, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.